Hello and welcome to our Saturday stream. I'm Josh, and this is map and image creation with Fantasy Grounds Unity. Every Saturday at 3 p.m. Eastern Time, I do a stream. Usually runs till about 6, and we go over all of the image-related news and all of the upcoming art releases, and then we do a lot of map creation. So thanks everyone for joining me today. I really appreciate it. It's a nice rainy day here, so I hope the weather's nice wherever you guys are. So we're going to get right into some cool stuff that's coming out. Next month's releases are going to be, I have seeing how it's going to be October, and we're going to be doing some Halloween kind of themed stuff. I have a nice new cemetery. Oh, it snowed. Oh, that's crazy. Yeah, it'll be snowing here within a month or so, I'm sure. So I have a nice new cemetery art pack that'll be coming out this next month, which I'm super excited about. And also we'll be moving into some newer territory, which is great. I have a whole art pack dedicated to like abandoned buildings. And included in that is our first kind of stepping into modern day art images. So you'll be able to create all of your post-apocalyptic kind of scenarios and all of that kind of stuff. So it's super exciting. Super happy with how they came out. And also we'll be having our first theme in a while. Will be coming out this next month as well. So very exciting. Yeah, what is snow? Well, I know snow quite well. It's not my favorite thing, that's for sure. Also, in art-related news, I'm not sure if they got released yet or not. I think that they were because of lots of larger art packs and whatnot. Not art packs, but larger product releases. I don't know if it has been released yet, but I'm sure it will be shortly, if not. And that is kind of not part of my responsibilities. Or I'm not really in the loop of when things actually get released. So, and this month's releases are a whole bunch of new water-related art packs. And so it's like there's actually 2 that are all related to the same thing, and we're actually going to be looking at those today. So if not out yet, they will be soon. And yeah, probably this week. The next art-related thing, I'm sorry, I'm having a little bit of a difficult time with my stream of thoughts here. This coming week as well, we will be putting into the test channel, I believe it's this week or the next one, some nice UI changes, which I'm super excited about as well. As you can see here, our sidebar is going to be changing up a little bit. And what we have is these collapsible kind of menus. We have some new icons, and everything is laid out really nicely. I'm super excited about it. And there will be more UI changes coming in the future as well. So keep you guys eyes peeled for those. Very, very exciting stuff. And here's actually let's check this out. This is a sample map that I made with the cemetery art pack that's coming out. Lots of cool things. You can see we can zoom in. We have these nice little gravestones and lots of stonework and whatnot with fences. And super fun. A lot of really cool stuff on the horizon. So without too much further ado, we can kind of jump into our map creation stuff. Oh, is there an issue with that, DJ Breaktime? Great, so let's dive right into this. I'm going to actually open up my image area over here. And I believe it is this one. Yeah. So here are the new art packs that should be coming out. If not already, they will be out in this month. So this is divided up into two completely different sections. So I'm just going to close this down for the moment. And we'll open up our assets here. So we will go into, we have Coastal Map Pack and Coastal Map Pack 2. And so in the first one here is where we have our water backgrounds. We have some nice brushes for doing these coastlines, as you can see here. And we have a whole bunch of decorations in. So this is to create any sort of seaside area. We have some dock kind of tiles here. Lots of different elements. Obviously our rocks and coiled up pieces of rope. And we have elements for not only making like these water mills, but also windmills as well. So we have, and the way that I did this is a little bit more modular. And so you kind of just drop this down and then you can place anything on the front of it that you. And we also have a whole bunch of different effects here. Well, we have the water splash. And if we move back up and we go into the second art package, so this is going to be for creating all of these stationary kind of elements that might be in the actual coastline itself and building up the water. You can see this is the splash brush, splash image, and you can see it works exceptionally well creating all of these things. And so if we go into the second one, this one is more dedicated to creating ships and whatnot. So here we have all of the different elements for our ships. And again, you can create your ships from scratch. So this is one that I quickly threw together. But this also has more of like the structure kind of elements. So any of the interior kind of buildings that you might want to have, interior of the buildings that you might want to have around, these set up here. And as you can see, we have lots and lots of different decorations here. All of our boats, and then we have a whole bunch of like pre-made boats as well. So you can just grab them and just throw them out here and use them. But we also have these kind of blank ones that we can kind of build up. In addition to that, we have all of the things that you might expect to find on the boats as well. As well as a bunch of different brushes. So we have these ones which will help us build any of these structures that we want. So super exciting stuff. And so we'll be building an area like this today. And if you guys are watching any of Dave's show, you'll know that he and I are going to be starting collaborating on a couple of things. We're going to be doing a couple a month, and what we're actually going to do is create not just maps that you guys can use, which you can certainly just use the map, but also a scenario attached to it. So we'll have like little encounters and whatnot that you can just get. And they'll all be put up onto the Forge, which you'll be able to just grab and use in all of your games. So that should be super exciting and create a little bit of synergy, not only with products, but it'll also be help navigate between not only his stream and mine, but also a little bit better of the implementation of the maps. So we can show not just the creation side on both aspects, but how they intertwine and how they will be used in the actual gameplay session. So it should be super fun. And obviously, if you guys have any sort of requests or anything that you'd like to see done, please let us know. Oh, so the question is, do you have any damage brushes in these for encounters or to simulate sunken ships? But yeah, we're actually going to do a sunken ship or at least a wrecked ship today, and I'll show you guys how you can kind of do that. We'll do a couple of different aspects here. long as time allows, I'm sure that we'll be able to get through most of it. But yes, you can certainly do that. And I will probably be adding in some different pieces as well. So maybe I'll add in a couple of the ships in broken pieces in addition to that. But as they are right now, they're just in whole, but I'll show you guys how you can kind of do that. And that's why that I have so many different variations of the ships so that you can do them in pretty much any position that you wish and then build them up from there. So yeah, and as always, if you guys feel as though that there is something lacking or something that you wish was included in an art package, let me know and I'll see if I can't get that included in there. I'm also going to show you guys how I've come up with a really cool way that we can add in these shadows very easily. And what I do is, as if you've watched the stream previously, you probably know this trick where I take the image, I drop it down to black, and then offset it and add a little bit of transparency to it. Yep, so it's going to be in the Forge. If you guys, so the Forge is our kind of community marketplace. And everything that I create, I put up on there. So all of the maps that we have done so far, not all of them, but most of them, I have a couple of other modules that will be going up shortly. But they're all in the Forge for free. And so everything that we create on these streams, we throw up on there. So, and yes, so it'll all be up on there. They didn't load right for you? What kind of issues did you have with them? Well, let me just pull up the actual thing right now. So close this down for the moment. It's in this one. So when you open this up, the ship wasn't present? Interesting. Did you see any of like the flames and whatnot? Interesting. Well, I will certainly look into that and make sure that it gets fixed and get that re-uploaded. Yeah, we will have to. I'll have to jump in there and see if that. Just double check something. Oh yes, you can certainly build them right in FG. So we're going to be going through some of that today, and I'll show you all the tools and whatnot. Yeah, so if there's any issue with any of those maps that I uploaded, just let me know and I'll get that taken care of straight away. make sure that they all work appropriately. We want to make sure that that happens. All right. Well, let's get in. So yeah, if you guys run into any problems with any of those maps that go up on there, just let me know, and I'll get that sorted out for you guys. I'm sure it'll be no problem. Yeah, no problem, Dark Mantle. I can't actually see the link, but I will certainly look into it and make sure that those work. Were there any other maps that you happened to see that were having an issue? Or was it just the spaceship ones? All right, so let's get going here. We're going to be creating a new image. So anybody who hasn't seen this before, we'll go through a couple of different steps here. Yeah, no problem. Just if you want to, I'll put my email in chat here, and just send me an email with whatever maps you have problems with, and I'll check it out. Spaceship 2, huh? Let me just yeah, I don't seem to have any issue, but as I said, I'll double check. Yeah, no problem. I can. What I'll do is I'll load it up into a dummy program and see if I can't uncover any sort of issues and get that sorted out for you guys. Thanks for letting me know. All right, so let's dive right into this. So I'm going to open up my images over here. Now, anybody who hasn't done this before, I'll go through a couple of different steps here. We're going to open up our assets, and our assets are going to be where all of our different image elements are going to be located. I'm going to be going over into our coastal map pack, the first one here, and our backgrounds. Now, there's a couple of ways that we can create a new workspace where we're going to build our map. We can double click on this and get a preview and then create an image record from here. Or we can just grab it and drop it into the image area, and it's going to immediately create a new image for us. I'm just going to zoom this out. And we'll just call this Coast Stream. And we'll close that down. We don't need that anymore. First thing I'm going to do is set up my grid. And I'm going to drop down the opacity of my grid just so that I don't have too much interference from it, but I can still see it and interact with it as I wish. And I'm just going to put this right here. And you can see that this is actually 15 by 15. So we'll make a little bit of a larger area here. So I'm just going to duplicate it and drag and drop it down at the bottom here. You can see it's all seamless. All of these just kind of work together here. With this nice little water texture that we have going on. And then what I'm actually going to do is go into, let's go out of here and go into our 2019 art package. And I will grab one of, do we want to do tiles? Sure, let's grab some of these tiles. And I'll grab some of these elements. I think what we'll do is grab something like this, and I'm just going to turn it. And then I will duplicate this one and put this at the bottom here. We have this nice little area, and we're going to be building this into our little coastal area. And we'll do maybe like a sunken or like a beached ship that's half sunken in the sand or whatnot. Kinds of different things. So now I'm going to go back into the coastal map pack, and we have these nice brushes. And I can use these brushes a couple of different ways depending on what I want to do, and I can show you guys how to do that. So what we can do here is depending on if we want, you guys tell me, do we want to have a rocky kind of interaction with the water, or do we want to have it like a sand area? What do you guys think? Sand or rocks? The transition from, do we want to have a beach, or do we want to have like a rocky kind of beach area? Sandy beach? Let's do it. So what I'm actually going to do is I'll grab these and I'm just going to move them over. Sure, well, how about we do a combination of the two? We'll do rocks on parts of it, and then we'll have it kind of go into some of the sand as well. So I'm actually going to duplicate this 3 times. It's right in here. And then I'm just going to make sure that we have this all lined up. And then I'll grab these and just line these up, something like that. So here we have this nice sandy kind of area, and we have our water. And you can see how easily we kind of put this all together. I'm going to make a folder, and I'm going to call this my ground. And I usually do this, and this just kind of helps me organize everything. And now everything that's here is going to work as a unit. It's going to be just this one kind of conglomerate. And I'll grab a couple of different brushes here just to demonstrate them really quick. And as you can see here, we have this one with this nice rocky kind of interaction. And we could just do this, and you can see that we can instantly create that interaction between the water and the land. And we also have one that is this nice kind of very rocky kind of edge, right? Like this rather cliff-like almost. And again, we can do the same kind of thing depending on what we want to do. You can see this all kind of blends together nicely. But we're going to actually use this one. And I'm going to flip this. Actually, I think it'll work. That's the way it is. We have this nice little gradient, which is what we're going to use to kind of like blend it in with our water here. And holding down Control, I can snap to the grid. And so with my line tool selected, and I've loaded up this image, I'm just going to click, and I can I want to flip it. I just want to click because I want the waves to kind of, no, I want it to be, I want the waves to be on this side. And then I can do this. And then I have this nice little interactive surface. We have these waves over here. And now to make the transition completely perfect, I'm going to come over into my Layers tab, grab my color picker here, and I'm just going to drop down the opacity. And I'm going to do it to something like, let's do like 150. Now you can see we have this little divide here, and that's okay. I'm going to go back into my painting area, make sure I select this once again, and I'm actually going to make this a little bit smaller, and I'm going to do a couple different layers of it. So I'm going to come down here now, and this, and then I'm going to make it a little bit smaller, and this is just going to make us have this kind of natural kind of transition here. There we have this nice little gradient where the water kind of transitions, and now we have a lot that we can kind of build off of here. This is going to look really good, I think. So let's move up, and we can go into our decorations, and we're going to start off with rocks. So I'm just going to type in rock, and here is a whole bunch of different rocks that we have, and these are specifically designed to kind of look and feel like those very smooth, weathered rocks that you might have on or in the water area. And instead of using some of the other elements, what I'm actually going to do is just build up some of the rockiness of these particular areas. One of the things that you should be noted in here is, let's go back into the brushes. And with this brush, for example, this rocky coastline is actually textured in the underground art package so that you can mix and match these kind of together. And if you wanted to, you could like build out, and we can actually, I'll demonstrate that at some point. But most of these textures that I use and create, I will use them over and over again so that when you mix and match the art packs together, they'll work very, very well. And so when we do like our underground lakes and we do our underground waterways, we can blend that in with the rock surroundings perfectly well. So this is going to match all of those other art packs. So let's go back in here and let's go into our rocks. Nope, we just want rock. And I'm going to grab some of these larger kind of rock groupings here. And I'm going to make a new layer here, and I'm just going to call this water. And I'll call this rocks. Not rokes, but rocks. And I'm going to grab these. I'm just going to drop this in here. And you can see here we have these nice rocks that we can do. The reason why I'm going to separate these is in the water area, I will actually come in and I'll build up some of that splashing that we're going to have underneath. And so I want to have them separated. I want to be able to place the rocks where I wish, and then still be able to paint in all of those different elements that I want to do. And you'll see how this is going to kind of work here. So we'll place some larger elements out here. And whoop, I want to make sure I have my stamp tool selected. And I don't want to do it on there. I want to do it here. And one of the great things about the system that we have here in Fantasy Grounds is that we can turn off this aspect lock ratio, and we can change some of these parameters so that we can use the same rocks over and over again and make them look drastically different, so that these can be used in many different ways depending on what we want to do. But we also have lots of different elements here, and I'm going to actually like build up some little rocky elements here. And I'm just going to kind of layer these on top of each other. I'm going to use a few different ones for like these larger kind of conglomerates. And then some of these, I'm going to want that transition between the water and the rest of the environment here. Let's just move back and I'll grab some of these other shapes. We'll make these cool little kind of indents here. And what I'll actually do is paint out some of these elements so that this kind of, the waves will bend around it, and we'll make all kinds of really cool elements here. Maybe what we'll do is like a small fishing boat, and then we'll do like a larger boat that's kind of crashed in the rocks and is half sunk. And we want to do some rocks on the other side as well. And we'll probably even want to do some that are like out into the sand here. And we'll blend up some of this stuff so it'll all interact very well. And I'll grab some of these smaller ones, start to place these around. All right. And you can see how quickly we begin to build up this and really make something come together here. And if we wanted to use the underwater art package, we could do a whole area underneath the water as well, which would be super fun. Perhaps we'll do that at some point. And I'll grab maybe a couple more. Grab this one. And so if you are not familiar with this, and if I do something and you're not exactly sure how I do it, let me know. Ooh, rock on, Svenster. So for example, I can rotate this image by holding down Shift and using my mouse wheel, or I can use Control and mouse wheel and it will change its size. Oh yes, yeah, exactly. I left it on from Gen Con. Leave it. Got it all set up. Might as well use it, right? Great. So here we have this nice little alleyway, and then through here, and then I'm going to go into, let's go all the way up here to our effects. Grab this nice little splash brush here that we got. And we've already set our opacity on this. So this is going to work out really well for us. We can come in here and we can start to stamp this around. You can see this is going to create some nice little interactions with the water in and around. And once we add in our shadows and whatnot, this will work really well. And I think I might actually drop this down to like 1. Maybe even a little bit lower. Let's go 100. And I'm going to make this quite large and just kind of rotate it around. You can see how well that this just kind of easily creates that effect for us. We want to make sure that these are appropriate to the size of our images here. And then here, again, you can see how this is going to interact and kind of make these waves and whatnot feel as though that they are transitioning around. And what I'll actually do is make it a little bit elongated here, a bit more than that. And I'm going to just transition some of these waves out and around. And I'm going to drop down my opacity to like 50. And we'll do the same kind of over. Make it bump out a little bit. Excellent. We've got so much going on here now. I think what we'll do is, where do you think we should do this? The ship on the north or southern side of our map? The sunken one, the kind of crashed ship. And how much of the ship should we have exposed? I think maybe we should have it maybe half sunk in the sand as well. Oh, we can add. We could go into the. We could actually add barnacles. For sure. Let's go into our underwater map pack. I thought that we had some barnacles. Yep. Yeah, like it hit and then ran aground, and then we'll have it like on its side with half of it buried in the sand. And we can do some shells on the beach and whatnot. That sounds fun. But we'll add all that stuff in as like the end kind of elements there, like bells and whistles, as I like to call. All right, so let's go into the secondary element here. We're going to go into our decorations. We could even do bits of the ship, maybe like laying and strewn about and half buried, and should be pretty fun. And we'll do like a little, maybe a little fishing boat over here. That. So let's find one that is going to work for us pretty well. Maybe we could use this one, depending on how much we want to have shown here. Want it to be kind of on its side a bit. So I'm thinking that this one is probably going to be working the best for us. And I can just drag and drop this right out here. We can make this a little bit bigger. And I'm holding down Shift to lock the aspect lock ratio here. And what I'll do is I'll make a hole in the side here, and then we'll kind of bury this a bit. I might want to just change its angle here. But if we wanted to, we could also do one that is kind of upside down. And we can, I can remove all this stuff with the sand as it's sunken down in. And I think I'll make it even, whoop, hold down Shift and make it even a bit larger, something like this. Or we could do maybe something like this that's a little bit more straight up and down. What do you guys think? All right, we'll do the one that's on the side more. Right, so what we'll actually do now that we have this kind of set up is, well, actually, I'm going to grab my little, maybe we'll flip this. I think, yeah, well, let's do it this way. And the reason why is so that we can have a little bit more space that is less interfered with the other ship that we're going to be putting up. We'll put this ship, and we'll shrink this down a little bit. We'll make this like a little fishing vessel, and maybe have this pulled up on shore just a little. And we can even build a little area over in here and do all kinds of cool stuff. We can do some debris that's kind of like out and around. Yeah, you can even do water like splashing up on the edges and whatnot. So here we have our two ships, and we can start to interact with the system here a little bit. Let's go back. We still have our splash created here. And so I'm going to go back down into the water now. And I'm just going to add in some of the water elements down through here as well. We want to have this interacting with the water. And I'll just do larger ones where this kind of just creates lots of disturbances in the water here as well. And I'll be doing another one, and we can actually what I'll do. I want this to be several layers of it. Maybe we'll do some water up over the edge of the boat here. We can do that. Our other art pack. We have a bunch of different brushes for particular element. So let's go back into the first coastal art pack. I'm just going to type in water. And I'm actually, it's coastal brush. I'm going to use this in a similar way that we did with our coastline. Actually, no, I'm not. You know what? I can, now that I think about it, I should probably make a little faded water image. I think I have one in another art pack. Let me just think here. Let's just type in water. Let's see what we have. Underwater. There's so many art packs now that I forget all of the different elements that we have. Yeah, here we have this nice little water element. This is from the settlements pack. And then we have I think I'll grab this. And this should work out pretty well for us as well. And again, what I'm going to do is I'll create a new layer. And I'm going to do this a little bit, well, you know what? I'm going to do it, I'll put this in first, and then I will lower down its opacity, see what's going to work good for us. So I'm just going to start stamping this over, and I might actually even change this here. We might even want to change this color a little. And I probably won't bring it up that far. We want that to kind of be sticking up out of the wall. What I can do now is I can now reposition this. If I hold down Control, I can kind of just reposition this. Seems we're getting a little bit of an error there. And I'm going to rotate it a little bit. Get an area that I really think I'm not liking. All right, so now what I can do is in this particular area here, I can adjust its colors and its opacity. And I think we'll do something like this. And we can make it a little bit more along the lines of the color that's the water around it. We can do that by holding this. And that's a little bit too much. Let's go into a lighter kind of area. Zoom in. And let's go into color picker once again. I have it on this particular layer. I guess we'll go a little bit closer here. This is maybe we need to close this down and reopen it. Let's run over here. I think what I'll do is just get into one of these little areas here and grab this color picker. Adjust it to something like that. And then when we drop down our opacity, and then we'll kind of build this up. That's a little bit too dark. I'm going to increase these. I'll make this to be like 130 and this to be like 140 so that we can kind of keep that ratio across the board here. So if I increase this to 100, I can increase this to 180 and this to 190. And that's just going to do us a nice lighter version of that same color, as you can see there. And the reason why I'm going to be lowering down the opacity, let's make it down to like 150, is so that we can build up those layers and make it seem a little bit more natural. And then when we add in the splashes on top, that should work out really well here. When we go back, we have this all set up. I can now kind of come in and add in a little bit more here. You can see that's really starting to feel like it. And if I feel as though that the colors are a little bit off, I can always go back into my layers and change that. So let's go back into our coastal map pack and go into our effects, and I'm going to grab this guy. And I'll create a new painting layer. And again, I'm going to do the same kind of thing. I'm going to create some splashes around this edge here. And then I'll go into my over there and change that. So let's, I'm going to change this a little bit more oblong. And that's going to just increase my workflow here a little. We'll do like along here. Now I'll drop this down like 150. And now I can switch back over and we can adjust that opacity to see what's going to be working right for us. I even want it to be something like this. And then we can kind of build that up again. Let's reset that to its opacity. Now you can see how this can really start to become like painting. Super fun. We'll do some additional little like have a little smaller fractions here. Yeah, happy little waves. Nice. Really starting to come together here. And what I'm actually going to do to add just that little bit extra is let's go into our 2019 art pack. And in our decorations, you're going to see that we have a nice little dirt element here, which is going to work in here really well. Again, I'm going to drop this down to something like 100. And above my rock layer here, below my rock layer and above my water area, I'm actually going to change this a little bit so it's not so static straight across. And so we can start to add in a little bit extra variations here. Yeah, and now we have this really nice kind of interaction between. And I'm going to drop down this opacity a little bit as well. I want it to still kind of feel like that there's a fade. See there? There seems to be a strange line right there. It divided here. Let's go around. And it's just out of position. Great. Look at this wonderful scene that we are creating here in no time at all. And I can do exactly the same kind of thing that I just did here with this painting layer. But I'll do it on this upper layer here. Create a new one, and we can start to submerge this into the sand as well. And then once we do our shadows is when we're going to really kind of sell that kind of creation. So let's create a new folder here, and we'll call this ship water. And this is just going to be these two elements of our ship. Or we could actually call it ship blend. And then we'll put our sand element in there as well. And again, we can kind of do this interaction. Again, we can come in and adjust this opacity. But we want this to be pretty rigid, right? Maybe what I'll do is just see that when we move that painting layer. I'll have to make a note of it. And then we'll fade this out a little bit on this side here. Let's drop down my opacity of brush here. Oh, you have the same one? So yeah, I'll definitely get that taken care of then. Doesn't seem to like that at the moment. But if you close it and reopen it, it seems to be. Great. So now that we have like the part of our ship kind of sunken in there, we can go in here and to change this, I'll just do it with my arrow keys. Depending on how much I want this done here, and I can actually, I want to rotate it. Negative 0.5. That like this? Yeah, something like. Great. And then once we do our shadows and whatnot, we will have a nice little interaction. So switch this over. What I'll do is move this back just. Yeah, I think it's a current when you try to move a painted layer, it seems to pop up every time. But we'll get that sorted out. I'll submit that bug report to Carl. Yeah, excellent. So now what we're going to do is we can start to create all of the different elements, right? Like this. So we have this sunken in here, and we'll start to build in all of our shadows and whatnot. So we can do our shadows a couple of different ways here. And I'm going to change this to sand, and we'll drop this in with our little ship area here. I should name these before I get too far ahead. Great. Let's switch back over, and we can do our shadows in a bunch of different ways. Oh, Dark Mantle. This is the new sidebar that's going to be coming out. So this should be coming into test channel either this week or next, or this coming week or next. And you guys will be able to check it out. So cool new changes that are coming to the UI. We're doing a bunch of new UI changes. So hopefully lots of cool stuff on the horizon, guys. So we can either paint in our shadows, we can create shadows with our lighting system, and we can also use effects layers. So I'm going to create an effects layer here. I'm just going to make an adjust colors layer. And I'm just going to drop down the brightness of it. And then I'm going to create a mask. Yeah, very cool stuff, right? And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start to paint out my shadows here. Now these are going to look a little bit wonky at first, but then we can kind of blur these out and adjust these to whatever way that we feel is going to be working the best for us. I'm also going to make them a little bit on the blue side. You can see this is going to really start to give us some depth here. A little bit more. You see how much that just adds to the scene here. And then we can start to do some over here. And we'll create some shadows up into these rocks to make them feel as though that they are have some shape to them, some dimension. And I'm actually going to shadows from here. And we will pull this in here. I want this to feel like it's going into the sand. And we'll actually do some shadows. All of this will be kind of cast down. Got a nice shadow that this still kind of going up in the air a little. And we'll do some shadows from might need to do. Maybe I'll paint that instead. And this needs to be softer too, so I think. So actually, I'm actually going to use this, well, yeah, I think I'll use the paint in that. Because I want to kind of match it up to same exact color. So what I'm going to do is just kind of create a little area here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to come into, because I'm going to have to use this over and over again, and I just want to be able to grab it. I'm going to do all of my color adjustments here, right? So I want to match this up. So I can do it a few different ways, right? I'm going to start off by just kind of grabbing it like this. Want that to be darker than that. So I'm going to kind of normalize these a little. And you can see we have 190, 188, and so I'll make that like 5. And then I'm just going to make this a bit darker, and then I can adjust this accordingly. So to make it darker, we're going to move everything to the left so that you can see that this is only 5 difference, and then we have a 30 difference from here. We maintain that aspect, that ratio between the numbers, it should all work out. So if I made this 100, for example, I can make this 95, and I can make this 70. And now I can just drop down that opacity. And you can see I can make this subtle kind of shadow that's kind of like this. And if there's too much color involved in certain parts of it, I can do a little bit more of an adjustment. You can see it's starting to get much closer. Yeah, pretty good. And I think we'll make that like 70. And what I'll actually do, make that, let's do that again, shall we? And I'm going to grab this now, in case I have to adjust it. And I'm going to make it a little bit smaller here, a little bit too much. So let's make it 6 by 6. And now I can come back into this area here, and maybe I'll it's a little bit. I wanted to kind of build it up now that we have it all set. And I can adjust this one. And I want to actually kind of create this feeling that these are coming up out of that we have these nice little interactions here. Do some large ones for fade here. Great. And what I can actually do with this is make this very oblong. Something like this. And now I can easily kind of paint in the and I'll go back into this next layer. We'll hide its elements. Not this. And I will paint. We can even make it a bit more narrow. I think what we'll do, we can come right in here and something like that. Yeah. Very cool. What a nice little scene that we're creating here. And we'll also make a nice little shadow from guy too. And I'll do one a little bit. Too much. Awesome. Oh yes, it does. I agree, DJ. And now we're going to be adding in another effects layer. And this is going to be our ocean here. We're going to bring down the distortion a little bit. You see it makes this kind of ripply effect here. We're going to add this to our water here. We want to make sure that we get all of this stuff in here, but we want to go underneath some of this stuff. But we can go something down like here. And again, we're going to add a mask. And I'm just going to drag out this area in here so we get a little bit of the stuff going on. And we can adjust this to have more or less. And we're going to be adding a blur to it. So we'll have a nice little transition here on the edge. And then we want to make sure we come out here and remove. So I'm just going to switch to hide area so I can kind of just do all of this. And I'm going to be using both the water and the ocean. And what I'm doing to draw this out, I'm just holding down Control. I'm going to go just a little bit on the outside because of the blur that we're having. Oh yes, yeah, directional kind of things would be good, wouldn't they? Perhaps in the future. And maybe even more effects. And where this gets a little bit troublesome through here, I'm just going to remove it all from here. Because not having that effect in a small little area in here is not going to be. And what I'll actually do is just come in and add it in to some of these little areas. Here we have this, and now what we're actually going to do is start to adjust our settings here a little bit. So we can increase our vertical, which is going to draw it out, which is what I want to do for this. I don't want to have as much horizontal kind of interaction here. We get this nice kind of little transition. And the more distortion we do, the more it kind of pulls away from the edge. So we get this kind of like a double line here. So I'm just going to pull this in. And get this nice kind of wobbly effect here. And we can increase the speed too if we want it to go a little bit faster. And now what I can do with this selected, I'm going to duplicate it, and it's going to duplicate that mask that I just created. So I don't have to do it over and over again. I'm going to create a new one, and this time I'm going to drop this down. We're going to do water. You can see it's already done all of that masking. Now all that's left to do is I'm going to increase the droplet here, because this is going to make this really feel like it's in the water. You see now those little splashes and whatnot really come to the forefront. And our intensity is how much it wobbles. So I'm going to drop that down a bit. You can see the two interacting together really create a very kind of convincing water effect. Two together. Let me just zoom in here so you can kind of see this. This really starting to feel. Yeah, some of them actually do have some directions. So Rain, for example, does have direction. I'll just turn it all the way up here so you can kind of see. Well, that's direction. Make it snowing. All right, let's add in some of these other little cool elements that we might want to do. We can do some shells on the beach, and we can do some below and above. So what we'll actually do is we can do some underneath the water here, as well as we can do some rocks under there, and we can really start to add in all of the elements that really going to make it feel like kind of creation that we want it to be, right? It's starting to get dark in here. So let's jump into some of these other elements. Actually, you know what? Why don't I heat up my tea? We'll take a short break. It is almost 4:30. And then when we come back, we'll add in all kinds of other elements. Maybe we'll do like some really cool kind of stuff and show you guys how, because we use that nice transition of our water painting, this area right here, we're able to now build right underneath it and add in all of those things, and it's going to go right under our water, right under our effects, and then we can have them out in the open as well. And what we'll also do is we'll do a little bit of a water line. So we'll create it where it looks like it's going to be wet. And we'll do that when I return, and then we'll add in a bunch of other stuff. So if you guys will just hang out for a moment, I really appreciate it, everybody being here, and I will be right back. All right, and we're back. Thanks everyone for waiting. Got some nice hot tea here. And we can continue on our journey here. So let's go into, I'm actually going to go back into the underwater art pack here. I'm going to grab some of those shells and we'll do some of that. And we can do some of the rocks as well. Actually, let's actually do the rocks, some of the rocks first. And then we can kind of place some things. We'll do some barnacle. We'll really get into some of the little minutiae here. That sounds pretty fun. I'm going to go back into the first coastal art pack. Go into our decorations, and I'm just going to type in rock. And I'm going to grab some of these smaller ones here. I'm going to create a new painting layer, and I'm going to drop this down underneath that water layer. And this is going to be for all the things that are going to be between the two elements. So we'll grab this and make sure that we have our stamp tool selected. And we'll move right down in here. And so this, for example, right, we can actually do a couple of large ones too. And I'll show you how this is going to work here. So let's say, for example, we do some of this underneath the water here. You can see that what it does is it will create these little elements just beneath the surface of the water. And we'll really add in another dimension of these layers, right? You can see now it looks like that water transitions right over, and then we can grab some of these, do some of these smaller little ones like this. And you can see as we move back into the water, because of the way that we set up that edge, this is now starting to feel very natural and super cool. You can do these kind of coming off of the bottom, some of the. And now let's go into our underwater art package. And I'm just going to type in shell. And here we have a whole bunch of different shells that we. So let's grab kind of a classic one. And again, I'm going to use this same painting layer. And we can do some on the out, like this, and some on the in. We want to make sure that. Now look at that. Isn't that great? And we can kind of place these around a little. Well, thanks, Dark Mantle. I appreciate that. I don't know about genius, but it does look good, doesn't it? And we can grab all kinds of these guys. Kind of place them around. Kind of reminds me of Animal Crossing. Did you guys ever play Animal Crossing? All the different shells on the beach. We can put some on these rocks down here. We might want to do some a little bit more colorful ones. And we'll add in all of our little shadows and whatnot to these so that they'll not be so static on top here. And I think what we'll actually do is we'll do that little shadow area that we did. So all I have to do is grab this little guy from down here and drop it in there. Make sure I have my stamp tool selected, and you can see I can create some nice shadows. And even do some down in through. I think I'll actually do and you can even use this technique to do something that transitions in and out. But I think that's a pretty successful kind of interaction there. Oh, it's shui. I hope that's a good thing. I don't know what that means, but I hope it's good. Let's go into our coastal map pack 2 here, where we have all of these kind of elements, and we'll add in some stuff over here. So maybe in our ship area over here, create a new painting layer. Maybe there's a lantern. And we have also we have all these different shapes of sails and whatnot, so you can really build your ship from scratch. Yeah, let's grab, go back into the underwater. And we'll grab this anchor. Drop this down in here. Make sure we have our stamp tools. And then we can go into, let's actually do some cool stuff here. Let's go to the I think we have some, yeah, some trunks and whatnot. Some open. Well, actually, let's just do like some crates and stuff. We can do like an open trunk. Maybe we'll put it here. Oh, not on that layer. And this we should drop down all of our. And I'll go into my adjustments layer. I'll just add in a nice little shadow from this guy. And then I'm going to go into this painting layer and paint in just a little bit more. Yeah, very cool. We got some nice crates here. And you can see how easy it is to just go back and forth now that we have everything set up. Do all of these adjustments. Adding in all of these little ambient kind of shadows from these cast shadows as well. And then we can go back into our painting layers. We have this convenient little element right here. That's the advantage of setting up all of your colors and opacities a layer. Let's drop this down to some of that's a little bit too much. Cool. And we have all this debris that's kind of come out of the ship. And we can do some barrels as well. We might want to add some of this. Maybe what we'll do is underneath the ship here, do some that's like sticking up out of the sand and whatnot. So where we have this sand here. That we want. I think what we'll do is we'll put it on top and then we'll add in some sand, submerged. But we should do one that's a little bit angled for that. Yeah, you gotta have kegs of rum. Always gotta have kegs of rum if you're gonna be a pirate. And what I'm actually gonna do is elongate this. So I can make easy kind of shadows cast from the. Make them feel like they're standing up. All right, yeah, this is really starting to feel cool and awesome. So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add in, we're going to do additional kind of like sand elements here. Let's go back into the 2019 art package here. We're going to grab this guy once again. Now this is where we have all of these elements added, so I'm going to do it right onto this layer. And I'm going to drop down this opacity quite a lot, maybe even like 50. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make it kind of feel like that there's sand built up on the top of these items. We'll do this one kind of sticking up out of the sand a little bit. So how I'm going to do that is I'm just going to start to place this right on top here. And we can even drop down the opacity more if we need to. And now I'm going to increase the opacity. A little bit too high. I'm going to get a little bit of this. And you can really see how you can really start to do all of these little detail-oriented things, right? I'm going to go back into the ship sand, and I'm going to add a little bit more up here. Let's put this back now. I'm going to drop this down something like 25. And this is just going to start to add in a little bit of extra texture. Maybe even do some here. Starting to make it feel like it might have been here for a little while. Oh yes, yeah, absolutely. It's a little bit of a rabbit hole once you get going. Oh yes, yeah, that's a great idea, Dark Mantle. You know what I do with snow? I'll turn it all the way down to the actual snow element, the effects layer. I turn it to the speed all the way down, and then I will use it for like little bit of motion underneath, like swamp water and what. It works really. And I use these different textures all the time for all kinds of stuff. We could actually even, if you wanted to do like sand coming up out of here, we could do sand on top of some of these rocks and whatnot. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to add in, make the sand here seem a little bit wet. Oh yes, yep, that works too. Yeah, I use that all the time as well because that's one that works really independent of the color because you can make it any color you want to, which is great. But here, if we use the effects layer, let's create a new effects layer, snow. And I'm going to turn this all the way up so we can kind of see this. Turn the speed all the way down, and you can see you just get this little movement back and forth. Which is great for like stagnant kind of water. So you can see if you drop this down in underneath all of this stuff, you can get this like minor little movement back and forth. Especially if you have like a dark water. And then what you can do is you can add a mask to it and do like patches. Then you get these little elements here. We'll spread it out a lot. But depending on the intensity that you do, you see, change this. You get these cool little things that move. If we turn off, let's say, for example, the and that's really great for a super cool, stagnant kind of water stuff. See? Yeah, no. It also works really good for space. Like if you're doing like a night sky, or if you're just doing space, I'll use things like that as well. And because you can use, let's switch snow to blizzard. Again, we can drop the speed down to 0. And you can create really cool like space stuff. Yeah, yeah, same idea. The blizzard one actually gets completely stationary, and then you can see what cool effects that you can kind of do with it. You can so the effects layers becomes very, very powerful. And hopefully we'll be able to add more in the future. So there's a little bit of a bug that you'll see this once in a while. But what it does is you delete a masked layer, changes the mask. All you have to do is go in to any of the effects layers. And just as we see here, we have reveal area, and we just have to, it'll put everything right back to normal. So if you see that bug happen, don't worry about it. It should get fixed in the next. And now let's go back into the under. And you can see how all of these art packages really begin to work together. We're using the underwater, the 2019 art pack, and the new ones, and they all work exceptionally well. So yeah, so what I'm actually going to do is I can do a couple of different things. And one of the things that I don't want to do, I don't want to obscure this anymore, right? I mean, I can go back in, we can always go back into these layers and we can change the parameters of the opacity if we need to. But we don't want to make it too much dark. We just want to have a very slight kind of subtle change from the water to where it kind of gets wet and then dries out again. Because we want this to be nice. This is like nice dry kind of area here. So we're just going to do a little bit of a strip right in through here. And we can do it exactly the same way we've been doing a lot of things. We can either do it with an effects layer where we can just kind of change some of the parameters, or we can do it with a painting layer. And it's completely up to you what you are more comfortable with and how you interact with. So one of the things that you should be aware of is the more effects layers that you use, the more demanding it's going to be on your graphics card. Not that it's very demanding at all, but if you are sending these maps to players that have a much lower end computer or very old computers, you might want to paint them in, because that will be a much less of a intensive graphical requirement. But what I'm actually going to do is we're going to do an effects layer first, and then we'll do a painting layer, and I'll show you how you can do both. So again, we can do it a lot of different ways. And I'm actually going to do it, let's do it with another adjust colors layer. And again, I'm just going to drop down the brightness. And then we can affect this in a few different ways after the effect. We can kind of figure out how that's going to work, right? And I want it to be underneath that water painting layer. So I'm going to drop it all the way down on top of this, because I want the things that are nearby to also kind of look wet if you want to. And I'm just going to pull out a rectangle like this. And we're going to blur that out. You can see that we've already made that feel like it's kind of wet on the edge there. Now that might be a little bit too far in particular areas, so I might just actually pull this in. So it's only just on that edge, because I don't want to make this too dark down and through there. And then I can do some variations here if I want. I can pull it up in areas. I might want to pull it up in through here or around these rocks. And it's all of these minor little things that we do that really help, because your brain instantly kind of knows these things. When you look at something, you know what's wet. You know all of the different parameters that kind of come from that. And so when we interact with these things, when we do this stuff, we want to kind of cue into those subconscious things that we pick up on. And things like this is one of them. And we should even do on the rocks as well. We should do like a little bit of a line here. So we could drop this, we can actually move this up over. And I can do this. And then we can do some bit around the edge of the. And you can see it's just a subtle difference. And that's going to make it feel so much more in tune with what we're doing. And I think what I'll do is just a bit more from, keep it kind of just on Nice. And we can even do a little bit on the ship as well if we wanted to. So we could move it up over the ship. And I'll just do some along here. And you can see how that, just by darkening that up there, it's going to really make it feel that way. Awesome. So now we have a lot of really cool kind of features that we have going on here. A lot of cool stuff, I think. And we can start to build some of these other little areas over here. Let's add in, what do you guys think we should do on this side? Let's hear some suggestions from you guys. You guys have any ideas that we should do? Oh, a survivor's camp. That sounds cool. Oh yeah, we could do footprints in the sand. Yeah, we could do all of that. Why don't we do, let's do all of that stuff. Yeah, we'll do a tree and a little survivor camp, and we'll do it all. Let's do that. Yeah, we could have this move right up into cliffs if we wanted to, have this like a little sandy area, and really begin to build it out. Yeah, for sure. All right, so I'm going to add in a little bit of extra land over here, just so we get a little bit away from the water. And I'm going to do that by grabbing some of these. Yeah, rogues picking the shipwreck. That's what they do. Yeah, and we can build these up and make some nice cliffs. So we'll expand it this way and go that. So let's go over into our 2019 art pack. We'll grab some more of these tiles. And what I'm actually going to do is grab, let's see here. Nice little grassy one. And I think we'll grab this one. I'm going to blend this on the side here. We'll duplicate that. Then I'll grab these and we can drop them right down into our ground folder here. See? And even though that this isn't quite exactly what we want, it's fine. I'll actually go back into the decorations. And I'm going to grab some of this grass. And we can go down into our initial like painting area here. And I can just, I have my stamp tools and kind of just cover up. And I really like it when it's not such a perfect kind of square or rectangle. I like it when we have edges here. I'm going to just build out these. Great, so we'll build a nice little camp area and we'll do some nice trees and whatnot. We'll do like a hut, build a little hut. So I think what we'll do is build out our little camp first, and then we'll put our foliage around it so that we don't we don't need to adjust what we've created too much. We do our main focus, and then we build up all of the other stuff kind of around it. And I think what we'll do is grab some other rock elements that we can kind of pull out over here as well. We have these large rocks by the ocean here. We might want to kind of convey that as well in some of these other areas. I think that in the winter art package, let me just type in rock here. I think that there's like this large kind of element here. And even though it's got like white on it, I think that this might work out really well. Because we can change its color to kind of match a little. I think I might use this. And kind of blend it in. Yeah, let's do it. So I think we'll create a little ledge over here. And I think what we'll do is grab the old color picker. Maybe something like that. That's a little bit too much, I think. So let's change our colors here. You don't have to use these sliders either. You can kind of come up and do it by dragging around up through here. I think we're going to do something like this. I think that'll work pretty well. Maybe a little bit lighter than that, though. Maybe we just want to change its color ever so slightly. Yeah. This. Yeah, I think that'll work good. Okay. And I'm actually going to make it quite large. And let's drop it like right in here. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back and I'm going to grab this grass once again, drop down the opacity, and then I'm going to blend this in with the surrounding. I'm going to just start to kind of push this out a little. Make this really feel like it is gradually kind of emerging up. We have this grass that kind of grows right up to the edge. I might even want to grab some additional kind of elements. I could have done like the ground first and then grass and made it seem even a little bit more. I think this will be. Just add a little bit of variety in there. You might want to you may have wanted to do that darker, but we can change that after the fact. I can actually use the this adjust layers color. Add in. Yeah, that's perfect. I want to get rid of. Yeah, And so now, oh, let's put in like a little nice little log. And I'm going to make a new painting layer for this other stuff. We're going to call this camp and decor. So this will be like all of the things that are kind of, I mean, I can add it into some of these other elements. But I like to keep them separate just in case I need to interact with them separately or I want to change them in some way. Put a nice little log over here. Let's make it a little bit more narrow. Nice little log that they sit on. Actually, let's make this all like wooded area. We'll do the camp over here. Make this. Let's see what we got in here. Got some. Go into the goblin camp. Or we could create. Yeah, let's create our own little. We have in the interior art package. Interior map pack 2. Decorations. There is coals, and there's also at the very end here some wood burned. So we'll grab this and we'll plop this like right in here. We'll make it this. And then we'll grab the coal. We'll place that right on top of it. Something like this. Well, we'll just do fire on top. I think. And then we can go into any particular art package and we'll grab some rocks and we'll place them right around it. So let's go back into our coastal map pack and we have some rock here. We'll grab some of these lighter colored ones. Gonna match this a little bit. Make this a little bit haphazard. And we can bring up some of this debris up here as well. We'll add in some, like they have actually brought up a whole bunch of stuff and what. And we can just jump up into our colors area here. We're going to do our shadows from this a little bit different because we're going to do some fire in here. So when we jump over into our effects layer, what we're actually going to do is do shadows from all around it. So we're going to do this. Actually going to just create a nice big shadow here. And then we're going to remove the inside. And that might be a little bit too much. A little bit too dark, I think. but we'll see. We might actually try it with. Yeah, that's going to work a little bit better for us, and then we can actually kind of add in some other ones. Oh. Yeah, yeah. There will be some adjustments to that in the future. Dark Mantle. So hopefully there will be some nice adjustments coming. And now let's go into our fire elements here. I'm just going to type in fire, and I got a whole bunch of fire ones, and this is in the Abyssal art package. These are from the other stuff. But I'm going to grab some of these, and then I'm going to show you guys how we can adjust these and make them look really. I'll just grab these. Maybe something like this. I go back into my camp decor here. And I'm actually going to drop down my opacity of this to 100. I'm going to do a base layer of these, so I'm going to do a couple of them. And then I'm going to increase this to like 150. And I think I might make this a little bit redder too. Nice. Then we can add in underneath all of this stuff, right? We're going to go back down into this painting layer, I think. What is this? Should label it. Oh, that's my little adjustment layer of sand. Type in sand. Yeah, we'll go to this painting layer. And I'm actually going to make the earth seem kind of scorched underneath there. Let's go in here, and I'm going to grab this element. And I'm going to darken it. Let's see. Drop down the opacity. It might make it even darker. I don't want it to be everywhere. I want some of this to kind of come through. Do a little. Once we do our little actual like shadows and what this is really come out. And then we can reset this original kind of color. And then I'm going to do a little bit on the outside here. Drop this back down to 25. I'm going to do this back and forth here. Oh yeah, I think everyone has that problem, Jason. I certainly do as well. And I'm actually going to create a different type of shadow layer as well. Let's have this. Fire is so rude. And we're going to be using another effects layer to really add on to this fire. And this is going to be a little bit more of a shadow around it. Yeah, that'll work good. And now let's create a new effects layer. At time of day, just colors. I'm actually going to up the red and green, very yellow, make it kind of orange. And we'll put on a mask. And what we'll actually do, let's all of this in here. Do some on these. Then we'll blur this out a little. And I'll come in and I'll actually switch, move some of this down in through, and drop that back down a little. Roll over it. Yep, that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to drop all this stuff down, and then I'm going to drop this down underneath these areas here. And then we can use these layers, right? We can go to here. And we can even add in some nice little smoke coming off of it as well, and we can animate that. Super cool. And so let's go into our Abyssal art package. And we can just type in smoke. Got a whole bunch of neat little smoke elements here, so I'm just going to grab one. Make it smoking off this way. And then we'll just drop this down. Oh yeah, maybe we can try it. Yeah, well, let's try it. So let's see, we're on the camp layer, right? Whoop. This is where I'm going to put the smoke here. And what I'll actually do is come into this. We can turn this off for a moment. A bit more intensified there. And then the shadow I will there a little bit. Go to one. And this painting layer. This one? Yeah. So we'll go in here. We'll remove some of the shadow back here. And we can always go back in and stamp in a little extra in there if we need to. And let's make this a little bit smoke. DJ Breaktime's the genius. Here we have this nice little smoke coming off of our fire. And again, we can do the same kind of stuff. Let's add in a little bit of movement here. And let's create a new effects layer. Let's see what we can do with the snow. Bring down the size. And we'll add a mask. And we can drop this down underneath other elements so that it will get affected by them. Obscure it a little bit. Very cool. Yeah, good idea. I like it. We can adjust these parameters if we want to do it more or less, and also the size. Very, very cool. And then we'll come in here. Let's add in our shadow from our log. That's where they sit and enjoy the nice fire. And we're getting a little bit close on time here. So why don't we add in? I'll build the hut off stream, because when I make this available to you guys after the products get released. And let's go in to the 2019 art pack and let's start to add in a little bit of foliage here. I think we'll break up some of this green a little bit first. And I'll grab a couple of these other kind of texture elements. And this will just help add in a little bit extra visual kind of stimulation. If we zoom in, you can see it's just like sticks and things that you might see on the forest floor. And what I will do next, actually, let's create a new painting layer, and this is going to be trees. And we'll actually do our trees first, and then the lower kind of elements. Maybe we'll do a nice big tree over here. And we might want to adjust some of the colors. Squash it a little so it's like that much, but this is how we use the same image and make it feel like there's a lot of different ones. We do have some tropical trees, but coming out very soon is going to be a new jungle art pack. So I'll hold off until we get to that. So lots of cool stuff coming your guys' way throughout the end of the year. Yeah, I'm very excited about it as well. All right, so we got some trees. Oh yeah, very cool. Yeah, so the Jungle Pack won't be coming out in October, but it will be coming out November or December. I don't. Did that twice in a row. Ooh, Feywild inspired map pack. Well, I do the theme that's actually be coming out this next month should go along with that really well. But no, I don't have anything to go along with that. I drop this down in underneath these layers. And we can use our just layers color layer. Add in our shadows for our trees. No, that's the wrong. This one. I think what I'm going to do is maybe make another shadow layer. But that works pretty. Oh yes, for sure. Certainly can. And now let's do some plants. So as we're winding down here, kind of towards the end of the stream, but you can see how well that kind of fits in there. I think that we'll grab some of these. Maybe we'll start off with some ferns. And we'll put it underneath the trees. Which one's layers there? So this is decor. Put it in with stuff. So as we're kind of winding down here, is there any questions that you guys have, or is there anything? Actually, you know what? Make these darker. See that one of the reasons why we put down trees and whatnot first is so that we don't overpopulate. We did a bunch of stuff underneath, then it's kind of like wasted. If you find any other ones, send me an email. I know about those too, but if you do find anything else, yeah, let me know so that I can get that fixed for you guys. Make sure you're able to use the maps. I'm going to go through and I'm going to do all of these ones first, all these little ferns, and then we'll do the shadows. And we'll grab maybe this plant. It's possible. It's possible that something like that happened. But I'll get to the bottom of it. We'll get it all sorted out for you. And now I'll go back into this just layers. Yeah, this one. I'm going to rename this shadows. Whoops. Just so I can stop wondering one's which. And we'll add it here. This is where you can kind of, it doesn't have to be exact at all. It's just kind of a generalization. It's a very idyllic little scene that we've created here, besides the shipwreck. Like a lovely place to visit. Yeah, you know how I would actually do that? So the question is there a way to graduate the shadows top of the trees? So there's a couple of different ways that we can approach that. So we have this particular shadow layer, right? And we have all of these parameters that are set here. And what I would actually do is do a second shadow layer that isn't as harsh, and then do that. So you can build it up into layers. You can also paint it out like we did here. So there's lots and lots of different ways that you can kind of approach that. We can also blur it further. You see here. Yeah, you bet. So a little bit further of blur will fix all that, but these will get less. So you'll have to do some adjustment. So like, for example, if we were to duplicate this layer, it's going to make everything a lot darker. Then you can turn off the mask and then create a new one. We have a new duplicate with the same elements, shadow copy. Then we can come in and obviously we want some more blur. We could do the darker kind of places that we want. And what I would do is increase this to not be as dark. And we could drop down our blur area. And then you could blur out this one quite a bit more, right? To get all of that nice gradation. And you could make this less harsh as well. And then you can go back in and all of these little areas in through here where you want that additional kind of shadow content. Might make it a little bit more blue. You can see you can do it in a couple of different layers here. Put much in there. Yeah, so you can do it with a couple of different layers, and then you can really start to add in a lot of cool stuff here. Yeah, very cool. And then we can do even one more if we wanted to. We can do a bunch more too. But you can actually do highlights in the exact same way. Uh, we can go a little bit on the let's do view. And you can do like round areas as well. But see, what I would do is I would do one for objects and one. And then you can adjust these as much as. I think we'll just back that up. And go really crazy with it. And here's where you can really start to control all of this stuff. And we haven't even touched the lighting system or See, this is good for the rocks and whatnot at this particular level, but it's too much for the tree. Might just do smaller ones, not such big elements. Much more subtle. Oh, there is. We have a full lighting system, but we haven't even touched it yet in this particular outing. So we can turn on all the lights and create lights, and we can add lights here and set up line of sight and everything. Oh yeah, you can do all kinds of cool things like that as well, DJ Break. Yeah, I like to hide little creatures under the water, fish and whatnot. All right, guys, is there anything else that I can explain or demonstrate for you guys before we head out? Just about quitting time. But it's a beautiful map that we made. Yeah, I think that I agree, DJ Breaktime. I think that the map making abilities inside of Fantasy Grounds is phenomenal. Oh, good. I'm glad. Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys for being here as well. I so appreciate it. I always look forward to my Saturday streams. And I'll finish this up. I'll put in the little hut and some footprints. Oh, we should do the footprints before we go, because that's actually in this art package in the brushes. We have tracks, and we can do all kinds of different types of footprints. Here we have some bear footprints. And what I'll do is painting layer. And we'll change this where it is. We can just kind of just draw out some footprints. And then we can go into our little area over here and just kind of fade that in to make it appropriate. Maybe something like that. And then what I would actually do is just like paint over it some other stuff. But this way, with this faded in like this, we can actually go back and continue them around, right? So we keep them going. Oh yeah, bird footprints in the sand. Bear. Bear. Yep, exactly. But there's a whole bunch of different ones in here. Dragon and snake. I don't think that there's any bird ones. Oh yeah, bird. I made these a long time ago, so we could totally do some birds in this. What I actually like to do in my games is I'll have something like this on the scene, and then if somebody makes like their survival roll, right? Like I'll actually have it hidden, and if they make their survival roll, then I'll put them on the map, and so that they're able to be seen by the players. Yeah, the bear chickens. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for joining me this afternoon. We'll see you this next Saturday at 3 p.m. And what we're actually going to be doing, I believe that Dave and I will be working on a specific project. So he's going to be streaming that. I believe it is at 2 or 3 p.m. on Friday. I don't remember which. If Paulette, if you're in the stream and you know, throw it in chat. That'd be great. I think it's 2, right? Or is it 3? I don't know. I don't remember. And then Fantasy Grounds Fridays at 5. And then so we'll be figuring something out together, he and I, and then I'll be building the images for it, and he's going to be putting together all of the other stuff, and we're going to be doing like 2 a month, and then we'll put them probably each month. We'll put them out onto the Forge for you guys to have a nice map, and you'll also have a nice. Yeah, there you go. 3 p.m. and 5 p.m. All right, guys. Well, thank you again. I hope you guys have a wonderful week, and we will see you next week, hopefully. Thanks, everybody, and I'll talk to you soon.